What's the expectation of the Missouri Tigers this year?
College football playoff or bust.
Hey, that's where I am with KU.
Dude, they should be playing the first round of the college football playoff at Arrowhead. That should be the goal. It's supposed to be hosted at one of their home sites. Nah, man. Let's make a handshake deal right now. It's gonna be played at Arrowhead.
I really am. Like, I keep looking at the schedule, and if Jalen Daniels can stay healthy, they've avoided everyone on this schedule. They've just completely avoided everyone.
Yeah, Mizzou's just good. Like, I don't have to look at the schedule. They're just amazing.
Shout out of prayer and really hopeful that everything is all right. As BJ Thompson went down in practice, and a very, very serious situation, was taken to the hospital. I think the latest report is that he is stable, but I believe it was a cardiac arrest situation that the Chiefs were dealing with the young linebacker. He's from Arkansas area, Central Arkansas area. The kid went to Baylor. Is BJ Thompson. We hope that he is safe. Prayers out to him and his family, and cannot even imagine how scary a situation that was for everybody involved on the field, the family, and obviously for him as well. And hopefully this is a situation that turns out it continues to be better news. So BJ Thompson, prayers up to you, and hopefully he continues to get better in that situation. I was reminded of Tomfoolery. Is that still open? Is that restaurant still open? That was a real staple for me. Did that go down in the pandemic?
Tomfoolery's gone now, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh man, they had that upstairs. I've had plenty. I've watched some tournament games up there. I've parked it there on a Thursday and a Friday. They moved, so they're not on the plaza anymore.
Yeah, they moved.
Really? Yeah.
They moved downtown.
Downtown. Yeah. There was this young lady, and she's probably a listener of the podcast, but she was a server there, and she was Rebecca Lobo, 6'7", and I mean, would box out anybody. I mean, in the building, she was and I was like, man, she's going up and down these stairs. Wow, I'm telling you, Tomfoolery is special time for me, man. We had a brunch the day after my bachelor party at Tomfoolery's, the all-you-can-eat Sunday brunch. Crushed it up there. Damn it.
Yeah. I really miss Piats. R.I.P. Piats on the plaza.
Don't have it. I don't have Piats.
Good spot. Good spot.
Apparently it was rebranded as Beer 30. But that also
I can always depend on you I can always depend on you to really get the nitty-gritty of it. I'm gonna go back. When I come back, I'm finding it, see if it's the old Tomfoolery's, and see if that young lady is still working there. Hopefully
probably.
She may have. Why not? Maybe she owns the place now. All right, the big news of the day outside of everything that happened at Arrowhead with BJ Thompson. The big news of the day, Mecole Hardman. He's back. He's back. The guy. This irritates me to no end. Before we even get into this, hearing you as the leader in the clubhouse of Let's Go, when you two hated Mecole and hated on Mecole so much, would downplay 3 touchdown games against the 49ers. You all just, wanted him out of here. And now here we go. You're nodding your head. Yeah. Let's go. I just, you're turn and love affair now, because you were like this when he came out of nowhere for the Jets and he came over last year. You're like, oh yeah, Mecole, and now you're doing it again.
It's all about expectations, big boy. When you know what you have and you can put it in proper context and you look at it and you say to yourself, all right, what does he need to be? When people wanted him to be a number 2 wide receiver, I was not on board with that. I think he is miscast in such a role. When he's coming in and he's going to be your 5th or 6th best wide receiver, and he's exclusively going to be used in gadget plays near the red zone, or he's going to go out there and run 5 go routes a game, and Mahomes is going to chuck it up to him once, maybe twice. That is my favorite Mecole Hardman role. He can do some things for you in that regard. Also, it's really nice insurance. Like if you end up having any kind of an injury this year for Hollywood Brown, if you have any injury this year where you go with Worthy for a while and he's down, this is a guy that can come in and give you snaps. He knows the offense. He's going to go out there and do exactly what you need him to on every single play. I don't want him as a number 2 wide receiver. 5 or 6? Yeah, this is a nice upgrade over Kadarius Toney or over Sky Moore, who I have officially decided we're breaking up. We've been broken up for a while
now. You've quit Sky Moore a long time ago, a long damn time ago, which is sad. I mean, just I can't even.
Like, we should probably make it official. I don't know if we ever
like
officially
week 4. It was like week 4 last year.
I mean, listen, I will give you credit. I am not gonna be like Dan Orlovsky and I don't like anyone who just stays on the Carson Wentz bandwagon until the end and until you'll go and drown with the Titanic. No, I don't mind jumping
Apparently
off.
He's looking good at camp, man.
I bet he is. But it is really just really interesting to hear you talk about Mecole Hardman the way you are, and then Sky Moore the way you are. And if we could just go back 2 years ago, the way that y'all asses were talking. I mean, it is just really interesting and funny to listen to. Listen, I think everything you're saying makes sense. I just want to tell you why I'm annoyed with it. One, I kind of made peace with Mecole Hardman. I was ready to move on. I've made peace. I'm thinking Worthy. All right, we got Worthy. You got Hollywood Brown. Now you got the improved and hopefully more consistent and more reliable versions of the Mecole Hardmans. But no, he just wants to continue to bring littles. And I'm over it. It is this type that Andy clearly has of littles. All right. If we're going talls against
littles,
yes, they are. If we're going talls versus smalls, Andy loves him some smalls, and it is just I am just over annoyed with them. How many smalls do you need to have? I mean, I mean, I've never seen anything like it. And I get you. Like, I'm just sitting here thinking about it. As you said, oh, he's a great insurance policy. Yes, he's a great insurance policy because he's the same size as all the other receivers. And
exactly. You get it. It's like the Russian nesting dolls. It's one inside of the other, except they're all the same size.
Can we get some diversity? One thing I thought to myself was, and I don't mean we've got Justin Watson in there, so there is some, but I don't even like I'm talking about diversity and size in here. Like, listen, I'm not. At first, I'm thinking, well, maybe they know something we don't know, because maybe they know that maybe Rashid Rice isn't going to be suspended as long as he's going to be suspended, so they don't have a need for having as much size or something. I don't know, but no, it is Andy's type. This is Andy. This isn't Brett. This isn't Nagy. This isn't anybody else. This is Andy. Andy loves the smalls, and I've never seen anything like it. He's got Kadarius Toney. He said, I'm going to hunt out and I'm going to go in free agency and I'm going to get Hollywood Brown, a small. Is that enough small for you? Hell no. I need more. I want Xavier Worthy. Give me another small in the draft. I got Kadarius Toney, another small. Justin Watson, nah. No, give me another small. I've never seen anything. How many do you need? He's going to find a way to get Richie James back over here. How many punt return gadget guys do you need? And for once, this was my thing, and I'm hoping this changes. Hopefully, some of these guys can be downfield threats this time, because he wants to get these little smalls with speed to go sideline to sideline and to go east and west instead of north and south. I'm just, dude, can we get a bigger body? One, you got one, and Justin Watson doesn't count. I mean, can we get a bigger body receiver? My God, how many of these? I think Andy drives around Kansas City and he watches high school practices or whatever, and he pulls over in whatever his little car is and has some little chair and has a pimento cheese sandwich with Dijon mustard and sits out and hunts down 5'7" to 5'11" guys that are under 190 pounds. It is his wheelhouse. I mean, it is everything he's ever. How many of them has he had? Deshaun Jackson. Oh, he loves it. Give me my pimento cheese sandwich. Oh, let me watch Deshaun and eat. Jeremy Maclin. That's a big for him, but he's still a small. Give me more. Give me more. I mean, I've never seen. Ooh, Sky Moore. Ooh, how tall Sky? 5'10". Get him. It is the size of how many of these toots does Andy need? It's just ridiculous.
At least one more. The answer to that question is always give me at least one more. And that one for at least this offseason is going to be Mecole Hardman. You're not wrong on this. Like, we were talking about it a little bit before the show. A lot of NFL teams have these thresholds that they use, especially as we get into draft season. Like, one of the things that the Chiefs do, their offensive tackles have to have certain arm length. They're just never going to draft a tackle that has short arms. It's not something that they will do. I'm starting to believe they have the opposite kind of threshold for wide receivers, where they'll look at wide receivers and be like, if they are above 6 foot and over 200 pounds, you are off of our board. We will not get those guys. If you are under both of those marks, you are somebody that we will consider. And Serda, I cannot wait for us to introduce Ron to Nico Remigio, who is going to absolutely be one of my training camp crushes this year. He is 5 foot
too.
He's 5'9", $185.
Is it another one?
He's perfect.
He's been around in every I'm looking at him the last couple of years. Everybody talks about him, and
give it time. He's coming.
The practice squad.
He's coming though. This is the guy. This year, this is the season. Now they don't have to worry about Sky anymore.
Do they have Phillip Brooks too? The short guy from K-State?
Yeah, man, he's on the roster.
But yeah, it would surprise me.
What is going on with Andy?
He was one of their undrafted free agents.
What is this?
Yeah, dude.
What is going on? Little guy. Oh my god!
Hey, they've got Montrell Washington. He's a 5'10", 170 pound receiver out of Samford. It's year 3 for him.
We've been talking
He's got
about
8 smalls on this team.
It's every year during draft season, and all these people who do draft breakdowns and player profiles and like fantasy football projections, and they're like drafting all these wide receivers and stuff to the Chiefs. Every year I'm like, when has Andy Reid ever drafted a dude who's 6'3", 225 pounds? Like, it's just not going to happen. But every year there's guys around the Chiefs pick that I'm like, man, it would be so sick if they drafted this dude right now. And then they draft Xavier Worthy, and then they draft somebody else like that. It's never going to happen. I would absolutely love to see like an A.J. Brown size player. Xavier Legette was a really interesting wide receiver who was on the board when the Chiefs were up there, but they traded up to go get Xavier Worthy because they said Xavier's the guy that we want. That's the guy that we've had our eye on this entire draft. And it's just never going to happen. You want to draft Cornell Powell in the 5th round? You can do that, Brett Veach. Yeah. But you're never going to get a high-end 6'3", 220 pound wide receiver in the first 3 rounds of the draft.
The closest thing you're getting to that is Justin Watson.
I mean,
you get Justin Watson and you will like it.
I mean, he must have been drugged, kicking and screaming to get the 6'1", 204 pound Rashid Rice. I mean, he must have been drugged, kicking and screaming. He probably said, "Well, all right. He's got to wear a lower grade of cleats. I need him a little shorter, is what I need. And maybe if he gets a single digit and he looks smaller, I can deal with it." DeAndre Hopkins was never going to happen. He's too big. He doesn't want any talls. He wants all smalls. It is crazy. All right. How about this? Because listen, as many smalls as he wants, I cannot believe he picked up those. Even the undrafted free agents are smalls. This has to mean something for somebody. Like, this has to mean somebody's up out of here. So let's do this on the chopping block.
Let's do something called counting, Ron, because I think this will be instructive as to where we're at with the Chiefs wide receiver room right now. Hollywood Brown, we can both agree, is making this roster, right?
I would say so.
Okay, that's one. Xavier Worthy making this roster, right?
I would say so.
Okay, that's 2. Do we all agree that Justin Watson is going to be on the Kansas City Chiefs in 2024, whether we like it or not?
Without a doubt.
Ron?
At least he's got some. Yes, I think Andy loves him.
They love Justin Watson so much.
There we go. Now, that is 3 for opening night. Eventually, Rashee Rice will be on the roster. I don't think he's going to be a part of the original 53 because I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think he's probably going to be suspended. So, for opening night, that means Kadarius Toney, Justin Ross, Sky Moore, and now you're going to have one more included in that with Mecole Hardman fighting for 2 or 3 spots on the roster. That's where you're at because you'll take 5 or 6 wide receivers into opening night, and those will be the guys that are competing for that spot.
Well, Justin Ross is out. He's too tall. So, I mean, because is he the only tall or the rest of them smalls? I feel like yeah, so he's out.
Only guys above 6'1", I believe.
But I mean, the ones on the chopping block that you named, he's the only tall. So he's out. Right, I think he's out. I feel like they wouldn't do this with Mecole Hardman if they didn't have realistic plans for him to be on the team.
I think Mecole's here.
This is
I think Mecole is. So
this isn't a compete for a spot on the roster deal. Like I don't think they make a deal with him unless he is locked in to the 53.
I think he's here for Sky.
I was going to say it's either Skyler or Kadarius Toney. And Kadarius Toney's a nut, but he at least can bring something to the table.
I think that they signed him to get rid of Kadarius. Like it's I
think it's Sky.
I think from a football standpoint, I think it makes more sense to keep Kadarius because we've seen the small glimpses of like what he can do and like contribute, and there's still something to be had there if you can actually get him on the field and like participating in games and not making crucial mistakes. Whereas Sky has like 2 positive plays in his entire career so far, and other than that, it's just a bunch of nothing and a bunch of negative stuff. I just feel like with the way that they handled Kadarius Toney last year, and like him saying like at the end of the year, like, oh, I'm healthy, but like they're not playing me, and that stuff. Like the Chiefs really don't like that stuff. He already had like maturity problems and like work ethic question marks and stuff like that, like going back to the Giants and like his college and things like that, and just like all of that stuff. Like I just don't think the Chiefs like that stuff, and the fact that he's not, I know it's voluntary and everything right now, but like the fact that like he is no sure lock to make the roster, and he like has not been at organized team activities, has not been participating in any of this stuff. Like it feels like if you're his agent, you're like, hey, Kadarius, we kind of need you at that stuff because you got to fight for this role on this team this season. I just don't think that the Chiefs care like the return that they've gotten from adding him to the team, and it just feels like he's on his way out to me.
So everything you just said is stuff I could have said about Clyde Edwards-Helaire this time last year. All of it. Him not being there for OTAs, him saying I'm healthy and then not playing, which is exactly what happened to Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the Super Bowl last year. All of this stuff was Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and they like him so much that they brought him back as their clear-cut, no doubt about it, number 2 running back going into this season. Now, I think Clyde is really well liked inside of that locker room, and so that is a potential difference there. I don't know how the team feels about Kadarius Toney, but I'm pretty sure they really, really, really like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He seems to be a really good teammate. So that's a potential difference maker there, but otherwise, like, I think Andy really believes in the talent of Kadarius. I don't know if that's going to pay any kind of dividends because last year it sure didn't seem to, but I think he believes that Kadarius Toney is more talented than Sky Moore is. And if you let Kadarius Toney walk, there's a chance somebody else gets the best out of him. And I don't think that Andy Reid can bring himself to do that. I think Andy wants to be the one that gets the most out of Kadarius Toney. I don't think he has fear that somebody else is going to get more out of Sky Moore than what he has. I don't think he has it in him.
Yeah, at some point, we know that the Chiefs are not afraid about being involved in an uncomfortable situation with the player doing silly stuff. I mean, Kadarius doing all this stuff. He's still on the sideline during the Super Bowl. He was available to the media. Like, we know they're not afraid of that. And second, I mean, we just got to make it simple. Like, sometimes it's got to be about being able to play football. And what we've seen at this point, like even at the lowest point, one, as you said, BK, one is extremely much more talented than the other and has proven it. One can make plays in the punt game, in the kicking game, which, you know, if you're just thinking and saying minimally, like what will he do even if he's not in every down, if he's a fourth or fifth receiver, like both of those guys have had opportunities in special teams. One of them can't seem to catch the ball, all right, and had a moment in, thank God, in the AFC Championship game. But one of them has shown not to be able to catch it. The other one has shown to be electric and can make big plays in it, right? One of them has shown that, yes, he's had drops, but he has gotten open to be able to have the drops and has not dropped them all, right? And you can almost, if you're Andy in your head, say, well, maybe that was just a really rough go last year. And he had like the case of the drops that just kept coming his way. But he was open like hell, and he was there to be able to create big plays. And honestly, when you have, and I know I've joked around a lot, but when you have a lot of smalls, they've got a lot of guys that you could look at and say, yeah, not only could I see him getting hurt or missing some time, they have. Xavier Worthy has already developed a hamstring thing. I've seen Hollywood Brown. He's been hurt before, right? We can look at, like, these guys are more inclined to get injured, right? I mean, Mecole Hardman, another one. Hell, he's in it. He's gotten hurt. He got hurt. He missed the back half of the season when they won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So you need somebody, like, it's not a deal of like, hey, Sky's a fifth or sixth receiver, and just because maybe he's a little bit easier to handle inside the locker room than Kadarius Toney, and he's the fifth or sixth receiver, he may not play. No, that fifth or sixth receiver you may need. Like, you may need next year, because there is a potential, I think, higher when you have smaller guys and lighter dudes to get injured. So to me, I think if it's between Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney, as much of a nut as Kadarius Toney is, like, I mean, he's got to win that battle.
I think he probably will win that battle, and I think it's because it all comes down to, like, who does Andy believe more in? And I think he believes more in Kadarius Toney, right or wrong. Like, whether we agree with that or not, it doesn't really matter.
But BK and Serda, there's no right and wrong to it. There is an absolute evidence on who he should believe in more.
There's there's no question Kadarius Toney is immensely more talented than Sky Moore at this point. I just think also, you know, giving up on a second round pick that I believe they traded up for Sky Moore, didn't they? Like, didn't they trade up to go get him in that draft? Like,
they gave up a 3 and a 6 to get
it's
Darius.
but trading up for that player and then cutting him 2 years later, like, it's not really what you want to do. But sometimes that happens because it seems pretty apparent that, like, Sky Moore and the level of competition and like the skill that he showcased in college just has not translated to this level of professional football in the NFL. Like, he is just not out there competing in the same game as the other wide receivers on the team. And Kadarius Toney can compete with those guys.
Yeah. Like, I just don't have a fear of lose. Like, if you were to cut him and say, you know what, it just didn't work. And we tried, we shot our shot with him. We thought it was going to work out. I thought it was a great pick at the time. I loved the Sky Moore pick. I thought he was going to be awesome for the Chiefs. Thought he was a perfect fit for this offense. It hasn't worked. And sometimes you have to cut your losses. And I saw Carrington, who does really good work on the afternoon show in KC on 610. Like, he said earlier today, what do you gain? What do you gain by cutting Sky Moore? It's the same amount to have him on your roster as it is to cut him. And the answer is a roster spot. Like, that roster spot is the value. And if you decide to keep him, you're cutting somebody else who can help you more than what we have seen, no pun intended, from Sky Moore so far in his career. That is what you are able to gain by making this kind of move. I also think you could probably trade him. Like, I think you could probably get a third-day pick in next year's draft if you decided to move on and trade him somewhere else. Somebody else would probably see value there.
one place, if I'm not sure, even if it's a disagree. If I'm Andy or anybody, I'm not afraid that Kadarius or Sky Moore would leave and become, oh hell, we regret this.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think for me it's just strictly like if it's between those two, who is the person that I have the most confidence that can help me? And I mean, it's clear. It's not even.
We
One
also
is
saw
more
last year, Ron, the quarterback didn't trust Sky Moore. So
No.
that's another thing to take into consideration here is when Mahomes sees you wide open and he's still not throwing it your way, that might tell us everything we need to know.
All right. I've been thinking about this for a minute, and we're getting to a point where, all right, yes, Patrick Mahomes is safely atop the number one quarterback in all of the world list. And he has been sitting safely atop that for quite some time. But we are starting to see some young cats and even just players a little bit younger than him starting to get either into their prime or starting to develop and have shown early promise, and you feel like, oh yeah, there are a step or even steps to get there. Guys like Jordan Love, guys like CJ Stroud, and then even guys that are a bit younger than him, like Joe Burrow, and guys like even Josh, where you look and you say, all right, yeah, these guys can improve. He's been sitting there pretty good at the top. He's 28 years old. This is year 7, and he's been that dude. I know within the conversation of a lot of those guys I've discussed and just talked about that a lot of them can take steps forward. Have we seen the best? Is there another step? Are there more steps that Patrick Mahomes at 28, year 7, doing it as long as – is there more steps that he can take that makes him better, or is he a person that is just getting better and mastering what he is doing now and not necessarily steps? Like I've been thinking, have we seen the absolute best from him, or does he have more levels to grab?
I think there's another level here. And I'm not saying that means he's going to throw for 5,500 yards and 55 touchdowns now.
Yeah, levels doesn't mean numbers, because there was another level he went up from 50 touchdowns and 5,000 yards.
Exactly. So like 2018, there's a pretty decent chance that is forever going to be, statistically speaking, the best year of his NFL career, and it was his first NFL season. I think he's been better since then, though. That was the best supporting cast that he has had in Kansas City. It was a defense that required him to put up those kinds of numbers as well, so it pushed them offensively. I think what you have seen is we've seen like 3 different versions of Mahomes so far in his NFL career. We saw that first one where he was just chucking it all over yard. The best deep ball thrower that we saw in the league. Nobody was as feared as Patrick Mahomes at having the chunk plays. But that was kind of all he had. It was a lot of all or nothing early on in his career, and it was good enough because he was so damn good at it, and he had such excellent weapons around him. Then we got into the take what the defense gives you version of Patrick Mahomes. And that was like the Juju year, right? A couple of seasons ago, he was the best in the league at taking what the defense gave him. And then last year, it was just mastering the underneath stuff. And then, hey, there are certain spots where I got to do what I can to take this game over. Whether that means scrambling, whether that means running, or if that means taking a deep shot here and trusting one of my receivers to make a play. And I thought he did a really good job of that. I think the next level is what we saw in 2022 with Juju, of taking what the defense gives you, but mixing that in with the deep shots that we saw early in his career. And that's where the weapons come into play here, where you do have Hollywood Brown, you've got Rashee Rice, and you've got Xavier Worthy. When you've got all of those dudes that can take the top off of the defense, I think that is the next step for Mahomes, is getting back to trusting that deep ball that he had early on in his career.
I do think there's another level, like statistically, that he could go to. Like,
you think statistically there is?
Well, I mean, like, but it's gonna take like him breaking records, like him breaking Peyton Manning's touchdown record and things like that. I don't know if that's gonna happen this year, but I do think this is the best version of the Chiefs offense since that 2018 offense to like give him a chance to do something like that. Like it hasn't been this deep with this much talent in a while. And I think Hollywood Brown, I think, is a very underrated player who had some bad years in Arizona because the circumstances there were really bad. And if he can stay healthy, if they get Xavier Worthy in the mix and he's is explosive and dynamic and looks like every bit the deserving first round pick that we all hope he is, like, and then Rashee Rice eventually, like what we saw from him, and if they can expand on that and Travis Kelce and everything, like this is the best group of pass catchers that Mahomes has had in a while. So this does seem like it's a kind of season where he could put up those kinds of monster numbers again. But it is a good point by BK where it's we've had to see him really adapt to the NFL defenses now, and he has adapted so much so that he has tailored his game to where he can do anything on the football field now. And also, by the way, in terms of like processing and like the way he sees the field, like there's nobody better in the NFL right now than Patrick Mahomes at seeing the field and creating plays that way, and whether it's with his legs or with his arm. And so like when you have a guy who mentally is operating at that capacity and he's capable of doing anything, like it is really exciting because I don't really know how you stop that. And I think the Chiefs defense is going to be pretty damn good too. And so like, I think this offense has the best chance of any of the other versions of the Chiefs offense to be the best offense since 2018 and maybe surpass it, like if everything falls into place.
I think the toughest part, though, man, is like you have to have a bad defense for him to put up those kinds of numbers. I don't think you can have a good defense and he puts up those kinds of numbers because we know how Andy is, dude. If they're up big in the fourth quarter, he is shutting that thing down. Like he is just going to pull the throttle back all the way. So that would be my one concern is I just think this defense is too good. I think you have a top 10 defense in the NFL. And if you do, I don't think that he's going to throw for those kinds of numbers. To put it in context, the 2013 Broncos team that Peyton broke every record with, they were 22nd in the NFL in points allowed per game that year. So I think you've got to be bottom 10 to be able to get there. That would be my one caveat with it.
Yeah, see, that's the deal for me with him is what has been missing was the big play. And I think that we have really, for the most part, I think it's fair. The most part, it has been more personnel, but I also think with personnel, it's been a little bit of him too. It has not been the best part. Like we've seen many times where there were chances for big plays down the field. And it wasn't just, MVS dropping the ball against the Eagles. There were times where they were not on the same page and he didn't throw it a lot. And I think a lot of it was just kind of reps. It's just something that they just didn't do a lot of. And I think that's where the personnel part comes in. But as you said, if he can combine manipulating coverages and people like he has been able to do and take what the defense gives me type of thing, and the way that he has played against the cover two, which is what teams have tried to put him in. But then now that he has more personnel and hopefully Andy uses it and not just, east and west, as I said earlier, but downfield stuff, you combine his ability to do what Brady does with the ability to do what like Flacco or somebody does down the field. When you compare those, and I'm just talking deep throwers down the field, big play guys, like that is a different level of having them both, right? Like before, I would say I don't think it was just scheme stuff with him. I think it was, or just when I'd say scheme stuff, I don't think it was just scheme stuff that he was making plays with. I think now he can make plays with both.
I guess my other thing that I would add into this, like just on the original question of can he be better? Can he be better post 28 than he was 28 and before, right? Do you guys agree that the following are the four best quarterbacks from the last 20 years or so? Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees. Is there somebody else that you'd throw in over Drew Brees, for example?
No.
Fair group. Every
fine,
single one of those players, you'd take their post-29 age of their career over their pre-29 age statistics, overall performance, everything. Like, those guys just got better, every single one of them. And those are the contemporaries for Patrick Mahomes. There's nobody else that you can put him in. Like, he's better than those guys, in my opinion, but those are the types of players that we're talking about with Mahomes, and all of them got better. So even if right now it is hard for people that are listening to this in their cars or at home, wherever you may be, and you're thinking to yourself, like, dude, there's no way the best quarterback I've ever seen is going to get better. Well, if you think that he's in the class of all of those other guys that I just mentioned, the overwhelming odds are in favor of him getting better from here. That may be due to supporting cast. It is likely due to him just having his physical gifts matching now with his mental capacity. And when you have that and you get into your late 20s, early 30s, this is where we see the best possible version of Patrick Mahomes.
I think early in his career, when the numbers and the stats were real high, I think it was a lot of Andy thinking for him. I think now here of late, especially when Tyreek has left, it's him, but just haven't been able to have the dependable guys and the guys with the ability to get downfield, to get open. Now I want to see what it looks like when he has the dependable guys potentially to get open downfield, and he's thinking for himself and manipulating guys for himself. That is where you could see it getting better.
This season I just want to see it be easier. like I just want to see some drives where it's like where he doesn't have to just be like, all right, let me drag us across the finish line. Like, I just want to see some easy drives for Patrick Mahomes this year where, big run by Isaiah Pacheco, big pass play, like, and it's like score in 4 plays and that's it. And it's not 15 play drives where Mahomes is getting hit and he's running all over the field and desperately just trying to keep the play alive and find somebody open to save his life before he gets absolutely wrecked. Like, I just want to see some easy drives for him this season.
And be more fun. I miss watching Patrick Mahomes and feeling like this guy's having more fun than anybody else playing the position. And it did not feel that way for the vast majority of last year. It felt like it hurt him physically, emotionally, like everything possible to be able to be out there each and every week playing the way that they did.
Yeah, a lot of stressful looking drives and games from Patrick Mahomes. All right, fellas, we are out.